Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. I love what we're going to talk about today because it's just so impactful, has something to do with energy. It's my belief and the belief of many others, including some dude named Einstein back in the day, that energy is everything. And if you start feeling off, disconnected, maybe you're just having some challenges in life, maybe the energy centers in your body, i.e., the chakras, are a little wonky. How do we get back onto balance? We're going to talk with somebody who is an amazing intimacy life coach, does body work, energy work, and all of that. Elaine Miles is back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks, Steve. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good having you back here. And the whole chakra. You know what? Before we even start,
Mm-hmm.
for everybody, what is a chakra?
Yeah, well, I have some diagrams that I think for the audience in Radio Land, I'm showing a diagram of circles that are along the spine. The first one sits at the tailbone. The second one is at the pubic bone area. The third is just above the navel. The fourth is at the center of the chest. The fifth is at the throat area. The sixth is at the forehead area. And the seventh is at the crown of the head, the top. The next diagram I want to show you really helps so you can see that each of these centers is not one-dimensional. They are, if you picture a tornado, vortexes of energy. They are constantly communicating with the outside world. So you have a vortex spinning from your tailbone down to the earth. You have vortexes spinning outward from the pubic area of your spine. You have vortexes that spin constantly from above your navel, your chest, the heart area, your throat, and your forehead, and the top of the head. That vortex spins upward. And now the third diagram, this is a depiction of blocked energy centers. So you can see how the vortexes are disformed. And what I'm showing to radio audience, these vortexes that ought to be spinning nicely and clear are actually in this diagram sometimes filled with darkness, and which depicts blockages. So to start off, it's great to have a mental picture. And if you get a chance to look them up online, I will say it's not easy to find a diagram that shows the vortexes, because again, they are not one-dimensional. We are energy, and we have centers that extend from our spine frontwards and backwards, filling our aura, constantly taking in the environment, our inner environment and our outer. So, and they can be weakened or they can be strengthened. Things that weaken them can be conflicts that you haven't resolved, and that can sit in a certain energy center. And we'll go through each center to you can see which conflict might be sitting in that center. Cultural programming, so the messages we receive also have an influence, because it's that makes up our our emotional body, our mental body, what we think. Very big influences on these centers. They can be strengthened, though. If you delve into self-awareness, and as I said at the last session, if you find out what you believe and whether you really believe it, and question the sources. So a journey into self-awareness is really required. Learning to go within. Again, we're not taught that in our culture. It's not shown on the big screen. That's something to cultivate. And one form of going within is meditation. It doesn't have to be sitting still passively. I'm meditating right now. I'm in my heart. So therefore, I am in an active state of meditation.
Wait a minute. I have to jump in here, and this all makes perfect sense until that point. You're meditating at this moment.
At this moment, I am centered in my heart.
Hmm.
That's what meditate. I'm centered with joy and gratitude. When you can center with joy and gratitude, you are in a more spacious place. And in that place, you are healing yourself. So you don't have to be sitting, as I said, quietly.
Hmm.
You can maintain that. You might want to hone that skill quietly, but then once you've honed it, it took me several years. Now I can go there. And so, yes, I can exist, I can maintain a state of expansion. And that's what meditation is. It's like some people might do some kind of a hobby and feel a sense of zoning, a sense of peacefulness. That's meditation.
Hmm.
So, yeah, other things that can be strengthened: faith, forgiveness, self-expression. Now we're going to get into these because the chakras are indicate in each one indicates some of those. So the root chakra, that's your survival, your basic needs. Do you feel a sense of scarcity? Is there never enough? Or do you trust that abundance comes to you?
Hmm.
Do you identify as a victim in any situation, or do you take personal responsibility and change a situation, accept it, or leave the situation instead of remaining in the victimhood mode? And do you still blame your parents for something? Anything where you're feeling like a victim will keep your base center blocked. And let me just say, the first three centers are based in the material world, so more concerned with survival. But it's important that you work through these because you cannot rise up to the higher chakras, which are more of the spiritual dimension and the self-awareness and self-actualization. So that's why it's important to address the first three. So some of the disadvantages would be, yeah, being raised in poverty is a huge disadvantage. We poor role models. Some of us start out with, some huge disadvantages in life. Uh, Money worries. For example, my father, every night at dinner, once a week, he'd get out his checkbook and he'd be mentioning the bills, and he was distressed. And so I internalized that, and it was like, don't ask for money. There isn't enough, you know?
Sure. Sure. It's such a
Yeah.
classic too. Like, how many times did our
Hmm.
parents say, money doesn't grow on trees? Don't waste that money. Be careful. And
Yes.
it's like a seed
Yes.
planted in your subconscious.
Yes. And see, there's dozens of seeds that are planted in our subconscious. So one of the questions I might ask someone, because as I said, I do a holistic approach, and I would say, do you consider yourself well grounded? Do you feel safe in the world? So the answers to these questions help me to determine whether they, still need to look at this. And then there's always, an intention when a person is healing. Uh, one of the intentions for this first chakra is I grow from a steady foundation.
Hmm.
So we probably won't have time to go through all of them. So very quickly, the second one is your creative life force, your sexual energy. All creativity is actually sexual energy. It all comes from this chakra. It really doesn't have anything to do with your libido. It has to do with your spontaneity, your vitality. Are you
Hmm.
stagnated, or do you have a zest for life? Again, disadvantages can be overbearing and critical parents. Also, a lack of validation growing up. You were not recognized, you were not validated. So I would question, how would you rate your ability to feel and express emotions? And, most of us have a hard time with this because it's not modeled anywhere, really. Uh, and the intention is I honor myself before honoring others. So,
So important, that last point you just brought up. It really
yeah,
is.
I know. I hate to say them so quickly because each of them is a source of wisdom. And when you're doing a meditation, you come into the spaciousness, then you set your intention, and that's when they're likely to be honored because you're not coming from your ego. You've stepped aside from that. Now you're in a higher place. So now you're putting these intentions out with humility and love. The third is your power center. Do you follow through on your word? And the intention would be, I accept all parts of myself. The heart center. Emotions can get stuck in the heart center, the denser emotions of anger, jealousy, envy. Now, if you can, we have the ability to transmute emotions. We can actually use the energy of anger, which I did for many years because I was very angry. And I said, well, if I'm angry, I may as well use it to my benefit. And then use it to go to the gym, you know, use it to clean the house, use it in, at least you have the energy, you may as well use it and then let it work itself out by your physical activities. Yoga, is a I do yoga, but and then also recognize that what you're doing is you're transmuting. You're changing that energy from a base level, and you're now progressing on a path of self-awareness. You're going to use that energy to do things that are productive for you. I don't like the word productive because it's overly used in our society, and we don't need to be constantly productive. We are divine beings. Uh, our beingness is enough, but we feel satisfaction when we are productive, and that's fine. We just don't need to overdo it. We need to do everything in balance. And so the heart center, like I said, if you can cultivate gratitude and feel a sense of joy, I mean, gratitude for the basic things in life, a roof over your head, the ability to speak and communicate, the ability to be interested in learning how to communicate.
Hmm.
Gratitude just for the motivation that exists within you is huge.
Yeah,
If you if you are motivated, you're halfway there. You're more than halfway there.
it's amazing that we take a lot of these things for granted. And I was in a situation a few weeks ago, came down with a virus. It's been decades since I've had a fever. I know where I got it from, a coworker. He was coughing. I knew it. And I had acute laryngitis. Never had that before. And I realized how I take it for granted just being able to communicate because nothing was coming out. And I realized that how important, not just for work, but just in general. And since I couldn't work, this is what I do. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take some time to myself, much needed. And I even thought about maybe I'll get on a plane, just go somewhere and just hang a little bit. And I didn't because I realized again, I can't really talk. It's not going to be fun. I like to, if I'm at a restaurant hanging out at the bar or whatever, hey, how you doing? Strike a conversation, learn about people, learn about culture, all of that. you take things for granted. And I love the gratitude. Keep practicing that on a regular basis.
Yeah, regular basis, really. Several times during the day, you're having something to eat or drink.
Mm,
I'm grateful for this beverage. I'm grateful for this food. I'm grateful for the company that I might be, if I
right.
had company. So then, and again, a disadvantage would be uh, growing up with a lack of love, uh,
Mm,
parental love. And then we have to learn as we cultivate our beingness, we can actually cultivate love for ourselves and others by focusing on gratitude, expanding our heart. We are creators made in connected with the main creator, whoever that is, or whatever it is. But we cannot be separated from the ability to create love. And when we are centered in gratitude and joy, we are actually loving ourselves. That's how we become, that's how we begin to love ourselves. It's not a mental thing. I love myself and telling yourself. No, it doesn't happen on that level. You can tell yourself that till you're blue in the face. But if you still feel an emptiness, you haven't cultivated it at the
mm,
level that it needs to be cultivated, which is the energy level. Energy
interesting.
level is the basis for everything. And so the throat chakra spirals out of the neck area, and it's our ability to communicate and speak our truth versus the inability and repressing them just to get along with others and be accepted. And it's rampant that people will uh, not allow themselves, not take the risk to express what they authentically feel for fear of losing friends.
Mm,
And I must say, if you are authentic, you will lose friends. But the trade-off is that you will be expressing yourself now, and you will be more authentic, and you will be attracting the people that are more authentic anyway. So
mm.
maybe it's worth losing the friends that can't accept you for who you are.
It's a lot of this fear governs us. Fear comes
Yes,
into play.
yes. Oh, for sure. Fear is lives in the base chakra. Now, fear, like just like anger, if you use it to get motivated, it can be very helpful, you know? But we do vacillate in and out of different states. We don't live. No one lives in perfect gratitude. That's not possible as a human being. We're here to experience all these contrasts, but we can recognize when we're feeling fearful, and we can use that recognition, and then find something or just sit with it and allow it and allow. See, this is the thing been taught to run from feelings that don't feel good, rather than just they're going to go away, take a walk, that kind of thing. uh they will leave you. Take a nap. Be very gentle with yourself.
Mm,
But just know that feelings and emotions are always going to come and go. And it doesn't mean that, and when we get caught up, when is this going to end? That's when we can get ourselves into trouble. That's when we can begin spiraling in our minds, in our mental head, and that's where we want to learn. We have to really learn how to manage our minds. And a couple of resources I've just put on my website today are excellent resources to listen to on YouTube to help you learn how to do just that, manage your mental, what's going on mentally, the constant chatter, things like that, the
sure.
inferior thoughts. So then and I have a case study to share with you. I've seen many clients over the years who are in marriages, have been in them for 25, 30 years. They're no longer, they're more like friendships at this point, and so someone came to me and he said, he was going to see escorts. His marriage, he was no longer active in the physical intimacy area. His wife, they had gone to marital therapy. She wasn't following through on the agreements she made to put more emphasis on that area as a couple. And so what I said to him was, and this is my advice for many people, but most people don't take it. I will say, it's time to, speak your truth. And so he was one person who actually did tell his wife that he wanted to leave the marriage. And he didn't need to tell her about the escorts, but he did. And so he did get an apartment. Things were a mess. He was texting me, oh my gosh, she's told everybody this and that. And I said, look, you're speaking your truth. Life is messy when we go through changes. Well, in his case, now he was prepared to move on and get an apartment and separate and file for divorce. But then she had a change of heart, and she came to him in all sincerity and said, really, I'm going to change. I'm going to now make our relationship the priority.
Wow.
And he moved back and they're doing fine. So, but the thing is, he spoke his truth and he felt so good about finally coming clean. And he wasn't concerned with, okay, we're going to have to split the assets and things like that, which many people get caught up in. They don't want to split the assets. They don't want to tell the adult children who are married and having kids of their own. And so they refuse to grow. So I just wanted to throw that example out there.
You know what it sounds like, Elaine?
Mm-hmm.
They finally were authentic with each other.
Yes. I mean, it was a great thing. For years they had been hiding who they were from one another. And
we're just about out of time. And I know that we have 2 left, but here's what I'm thinking. We're just about to hit the third eye, which is your intuition.
Right.
What do you think about next time we get together? We focus on your intuition, all of that, what it feels like, how to connect and really kick it off by talking about the third eye chakra. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite topics. Intuition, gut feeling, all of that. If somebody's looking for any kind of guidance, coaching, intimacy coaching, all of that, how do they find you?
They can go to my website. Well, they can search my name on Google, Elaine Miles, Miles, Pennsylvania, massage. I come right up on the Google. Or they can go to my website, Soul Tymes, SOULTYMES.com.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I have a little blurb. We don't have any time.
25 seconds-ish.
I am willing to pay the price of personal growth. I will do what it takes to be whole.
Amen. And guess what? You gave the example of that couple. That sounds like what they did.
Yeah.
It sounds like what they did.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for
yourself. You do it for yourself first.
100%. You got to be true to yourself.
Exactly.
Elaine, thank you so much. And we'll catch up next time. Okay.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to
have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.